So in light of that, Harjeet, do you think there is a role for BCs, or is it also getting like BCs are getting sort of probably in future threatened by fintechs? What do you as a bank see the most valuable partnership? Are they both going to coexist? In this whole transforming world, are we still seeing the assisted models surviving for a long run?
Yeah, so I think the way I look at it is that I think you both have their specific use cases. I think it's not one over the other or one at the expense of others. I think PCs provide the all important physical reach. I mean, while we all talking about digital, etc., and moving away from physical touch, it's not going to happen either for 100% of the customers or in a hurry. I think there is handholding which is required. Why? I mean, forget inclusion. I think that's a learning which banks have had even in urban areas, which are more amenable to, let's say, digitization for that effect. People expect physical networks to be there because that gives them comfort, and that gives them a point where if they have a problem, they can go to, and therefore it is required. So I don't think we can walk away from the BC model. BCs have their important role to play, and they will. Fintechs, on the other hand, I think focus on customer journeys, experiences, data models, make businesses more efficient. And therefore, to my mind, every business, and even a VC for that matter, will need technology, data analytics, digitization, etc. The works to make themselves efficient and make an impact. Now, they could either, VCs could partner with fintechs, or we could have a situation where they become fintechs themselves. I mean, both are possible, and therefore we'll have to see how this moves on. But as a bank, I think we will continue to partner both because we see usefulness from on both counts.
That makes sense. But then the question comes to back to this whole idea of data. Sanjay, all we're talking about is, all the integrations, everything is possible when there is data, right? But the question is, inclusion or inclusive banking deals with thin file customers, perhaps data poor customers. How do we see the whole India stack helping in that space? Or do we have to wait for the customers to first getting into digital world and then do banking with them? Or is there a way to expedite that process?
So this is a
Sanjay? I think he's...
I think network or something.
Yeah, let's give it a minute. Maybe you want to take that up, Harjeet. Is there a way that we can expedite the journey for digitally poor customers?
So I think if you talk about data, in my mind, the digital footprint of rural customers is going to be low. So we need to be conscious of that. But I think we will need to look at some of the other elements in terms of their surroundings, what do they do, where do they interact with, etc., and kind of use that to be able to do this. The good part about rural customers is that I think they're pretty okay in terms of sharing whatever the digital footprint is in case it benefits them, and therefore I think that's a good thing. And if you move a little up the ladder in terms of let's say smaller businesses in rural areas or in semi-urban areas, I think the entire piece will start with them because that is a little more savvy customer, more smartphone penetration, more and more their own interactions and transactions in terms of business are happening digitally, or at least invoices, etc., are flowing, payments are starting to go through banks. So I think it will start there. And when we come back to our, let's say, absolute microfinance, rural women, I think it will take a little longer. But they will also start in terms of remittances, some purchases, small things which will start happening on digital platforms, which can then be leveraged. So that's the way I see it, and I think I see Sanjay back. So I think.
Great.
Yeah, Sanjay,
Sorry.
sorry we lost you for a bit, but you have the closing remark to make on this.
Great. No, so the point was that I was trying to make was that digital payments we thought was the gateway product. People would get onto the system, use digital payments. They would benefit from the fact of paying and accepting money digitally. And that would then start to create the data. And then on top of that, you could start to see more interesting products, which over time would get richer and richer. Right. And this was the thought that people would be able to use data to benefit themselves. And that's what has driven a lot of our work. But what we are seeing now is that people are using alternate sources of data to try and get a better handle on the customer. I think with the LSP model, you'll see another set of data come into play, which is because the LSP being directly in touch with the customer has a better understanding of that. So I think we will now start to see a whole host of other data also come into play, because I think for us to get out of this, everybody realizes we're going to have to make do with what we have and accelerate this journey towards becoming a part of the formal financial system. And I think that's something which we will see. I'm quite
Lost him again. Okay, back. Sorry, we lost you for the last 1 minute.
I think there's a weak connection out there, but I think the message is clear. Things are going to change fast and real fast. So I think there is an urgency. I mean, in the sense, Harjeet and Sanjay, I think it's quite invaluable what you shared, and the thoughts that you have put forward. For people like us who are in this inclusion space, trying to build some tools in the digital platforms for unbanked customers, I think it's a lot of value in terms of how a bank and ecosystem environment, or the infra, the whole that's there out there, is going to enable this whole process of banking for the poor or banking for the unbanked. This journey is definitely going to accelerate, and we're getting ready for that. Thank you for sharing your views. Thanks for your time, for gracing the occasion. It's really invaluable for us. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.